Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another sports stuff video. Today we are talking about week 3 of Nick's picks of the week. So if you guys do enjoy, please like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into the video. So obviously week 2 is now over. We're moving into week 3. Let's talk about the games, right? So Thursday night football, we have Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills. The Dolphins, they lose an absolute stunner against the New York Giants. Not New York, who they play against? The Cowboys. It was the Cowboys. They lost against the Cowboys. What an amazing game that was. Unfortunately, they just, they couldn't. Oh, it was the Patriots, wasn't it? Why am I blanking on who they played? It was the Patriots because it was back-to-back kick returns. So I don't know why I kept saying other teams. So yeah, the Dolphins and the Patriots. That was a great game. Constant offense, constant scoring. But at the end of the day, this Miami Dolphins defense is not good enough to do anything. And against the Buffalo Bills, who their offense is able to do anything, as we saw this past week, the Bills, they're unstoppable. They absolutely destroyed the Jets. They held Justin Fields to, I believe, one of the lowest QBR ratings in a single game in the NFL history. They couldn't get anything going. As much as I do like pieces of the Miami Dolphins offense, I just don't think they can overcome how good this defense actually is right now and how bad the Miami Dolphins defense is. I think it's going to be an easy, like, this is going to be like a 30-10 win, a 35-10 win for the Buffalo Bills. They officially move to 3-0. Again, nothing against the Miami Dolphins. I think they should blow it up. If you guys have more, questions about how I would blow it up, you can go back to my YouTube channel. I did post last week a video of blowing up the Miami Dolphins, how I would do it. So if you're interested in that video, go watch it. But yeah, Buffalo Bills, I think it's a pretty easy win against the Miami Dolphins in week 3. Next, we have the Indianapolis Colts at Tennessee Titans. I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, I know, crazy. The Indianapolis Colts were a team that I thought could easily be one of the worst in the league, but they're proving me wrong, right? Obviously, we saw just last year, the New Orleans Saints, they went 2-0. They had an amazing offense both those games, and then injuries stopped them, and the world kind of came crashing down around them. That could happen to the Indianapolis Colts, but as of right now, the Colts are playing really well. Daniel Jones is throwing the ball really well, spraying the ball out to all his receivers. Jonathan Taylor is doing his thing, really good offensive line. Daniel Jones is having the time to go through his reads, make plays, and their defense is good enough to not be awful. Obviously, when you have a guy like Cam Bynum at safety, that's a game wrecker in the secondary. And their front seven is playing better than I expected. I do still have questions about their interior, their defensive line. Very aged veterans in Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner. But they're playing well right now. The Tennessee Titans currently have led up 11 sacks to Cam Ward. And that is the highest in the NFL right now, is 11 sacks in 2 weeks. That's 5 a game. Is the Indianapolis Colts defensive line good enough to get to Cam Ward? That'll be the question, but the Titans offensive line, it needs more work. I just don't think that they've done enough work on the offensive line. They should have invested more in the interior. Obviously, you have your veterans at the tackle with Dan Moore at left tackle, and you drafted someone within the last year or two at right tackle. Interior offensive line definitely needs more work. Wide receiver core looks interesting. It's not great, obviously, with Traylon Burks, Elick Manor. It's a solid wide receiver, young wide receiver group, but nothing special. Chiggs Okonkwo, I love Chiggs Okonkwo. But, it'll be interesting to see what they can do in week 3. Can they rebound? Can they get the sack numbers down? And their defense, they obviously have a lot of pieces on defense that I think are interesting. Probably that's going to be enough to stop the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to go with the Colts beating the Titans. Next, we have Steelers at Patriots. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers. So far, they haven't really proven to me that they're a bad team. Yes, they did lose week 2. It happens. Teams win, teams lose. Good teams lose, bad teams win. It happens. But the Steelers versus Seahawks, the defense looks old. The defense looks lackluster. It looks like it lacks true playmakers, right? Jalen Ramsey, week 1, had an amazing game-winning tackle. That was amazing. But week 2 was not all that good. And can the New England Patriots take advantage of that? They could, but I think this is one of the worst wide receiver cores in the NFL. Yes, Stephon Diggs not really doing anything, just running cardio. Interesting running backs. I like Ramondre Stevenson. I like TreVeyon Henderson. But is that actually someone who can carry an NFL offense? I love Kayshon Boutte. I love Demario Douglas. I like Kyle Williams. It's interesting. I just don't think they're going to be able to beat this secondary that is experienced veterans. I do think this is a matchup the Steelers can win. And offensively, we know what this offense is going to be able to do. You're going to see a DK Metcalf jump ball where he catches a crazy touchdown, and 3 straight drives where he doesn't catch a single ball. Jaylen Warren and Caleb Johnson. I don't know if Caleb Johnson's actually healthy. I think he might be hurt. But Jaylen Warren, I believe in. This offensive line is interesting. Obviously, with Pat Freiermuth. It'll be interesting to see what they can do in week 3. but I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers over the New England Patriots. As of now, I do think the Patriots could win this, but I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers with their veteran presence. Next, we have Texans at Jaguars. I really don't know, man. I really don't know. The Texans, they almost beat the Buccaneers on Monday Night Football, but, Nick Chubb runs in a touchdown, which obviously I'm not going to fault Nick Chubb for running in a touchdown because, you kind of got to rely on your defense to make a stop there instead of letting Baker Mayfield go down the field and score a touchdown. But they almost beat the Buccaneers, then they let up because their defense wasn't so good. But at the same time, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't believe in. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is good enough right now to elevate a bad roster. I don't like their offensive line. They have really good wide receivers and a good tight end. The issue is there's a lot of issues, right? Like Brian Thomas Jr. is having drop issues. They're the number one wide receiver. Their defense is interesting, but I don't like their secondary. In fact, I believe they just cut Darnell Savage. I'm not mistaken. They just cut him. And the Texans have plenty of wide receivers. The issue is the offensive line, honestly. Can they hold up and let Stitch Stroud deliver the ball? I'm going to go with the Houston Texans beating the Jacksonville Jaguars. But again, I would not be shocked if I see the Jags beat the Texans. But if the Jags do beat the Texans are 0-3. I don't think the Texans start 0-3. I just don't see it happening. I'm going to go with the Texans winning in week 3. Next, we have Denver at Los Angeles. Right now, I'm definitely leaning LA. Their defense is probably one of the best in the league. Broncos almost beat the Colts, but I did miss a lot. I missed a lot of that game. If I'm not mistaken, a fluky penalty and a field goal is why the Broncos lost. Again, I didn't really watch that game. I wish I did because apparently it was really good. 29-28, and it came down to a crazy kick and some kind of a flag happening. But the Broncos, their offense to me seems uninspired. They're not really the same threat they were last year in the passing game. Obviously, Bo Nix, he had a good game too. Rough game 1, but had a better game 2, throwing 3 touchdowns, had over a 63% completion percentage. Really solid game from Bo Nix. But their defense, shockingly, is not as good as I thought it was going to be earlier in the season. Hopefully they can, get it in the high gear. But right now, the Chargers are playing great ball. They have a really good offensive line. Their wide receivers are doing their thing. Hopefully, Amarion Hampton and Najee Harris can get their feet underneath them. Because Amarion Hampton only giving him 8 carries and Najee Harris 8 carries. That's 16 carries for 50 yards. That's 3 yards a carry. You can't have it in an NFL game. So hopefully they can kind of figure out their run game as they're going. But I do think, with what Justin Herbert's able to do at quarterback and kind of deliver the ball deep to Quentin Johnson, in the slot to Trey Harris and Ladd McConkey, dump off to Will Dissly in the run game. I do believe in the Chargers. I think they're going to win the division. I said that at the beginning of the season in my division predictions. I do think the Chargers are going to win the division. And I think the Denver Broncos could have a step back. And so far, the offense, week 1 was rough. The defense was okay. Then week 2 was a complete opposite. The defense was okay when their offense was looking pretty solid. So I'm going with the Chargers. They're a more complete team as of this moment in the NFL season. Next, we have the Bengals at the Minnesota Vikings. I'm gonna be a shocker. I'm gonna go with the Minnesota Vikings. Yes, Minnesota does not have JJ McCarthy, obviously. However, I think a lot of the issues that having basically a rookie quarterback play is that Carson Wentz is gonna deliver the ball with anticipation and like he's done it a million times because he has. Carson Wentz is almost 10 years into his career. He knows what he's doing at quarterback. He's gonna deliver the ball on time. And while, again, the ceiling is not as high as JJ McCarthy is, the floor is slightly higher, right? Because we see what JJ McCarthy is, multiple field goals, no touchdowns. Justin Jefferson has, 60 yards, yes, in the first 2 games, 60 yards a game. But as of right now, we can see that the Vikings offense is not clicking. Carson Wentz, I think, can make it click, but not to the level that JJ McCarthy can. So I do think the Minnesota Vikings can do their thing against a lackluster Cincinnati Bengals team without Joe Burrow, right? They have Jake Browning starting at quarterback. That is not going to be as good as having Joe Burrow. Just straight up, is not. And the Minnesota Vikings defense is still pretty good. I like their defense. It's not top 10, but I like their front 7. Their secondary, they kept Byron Murphy. They have Josh Metellus. They have Harrison Smith, who's hopefully coming back from injury this upcoming week. But the Bengals defense is nothing to be afraid of. This could be a Justin Jefferson 200-yard game we're talking about here. Like Cam Taylor-Britt versus Justin Jefferson is barbecue chicken. That's what it is. So I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. Next, we have the New York Jets at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I am going to go with the Buccaneers. I think the Jets could rebound after that really rough Buffalo game. The Buccaneers defense is nowhere as good as the Buffalo defense is. In fact, Tampa Bay's defense, I really am not a big fan of. I like their secondary. The linebacker core is okay, but their front 4 without Vita Vea is god awful. And Kalijah Kancey just tore his pec. He will not play for the rest of the season. So a bad defensive line has got even worse. So the Jets, yes, Justin Fields could do his thing. This could be a really good offensive game for the New York Jets, getting back on, correcting the ship back to being a winning team. But I just don't think that the Jets defense is able to stop this many weapons on the Buccaneers offense, because we just saw that when the offense is mediocre for 3/4 of a game against the Texans, Baker Mayfield and this offense can just turn it on and go and make a game-winning drive. So for me, I am going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers until they prove me wrong, right? Right now, the Buccaneers are living high, and I think going into a home game against the Jets is the exact type of game to kind of keep that winning streak going and go 3-0. Again, I do think the New York Jets could win this game. I don't like the Buccaneers defense, especially their front seven. So Justin Fields could take advantage of that. We know what Garrett Wilson and Justin Fields do. So hopefully Justin Fields can go down and make plays with his legs and dump it off to Garrett Wilson and get lots of yak. But right now, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. Next, we have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Washington Commanders. The Commanders coming off a Thursday night football game, so they have a long rest session. Yes, they could overcorrect. This is going to be an interesting game. The Commanders have looked bad in the first 2 weeks. How much is that is on Jaden Daniels? I don't really know. Is it a sophomore slump? Maybe. But I think a lot of the issues is that is a lot of turnover on the offense as well. New wide receiver, new offensive lineman. The defense is different. The roster has definitely seen some change over the last year. So I don't know how much of that is on Washington. But when it comes to their defense, I don't know. Marshawn Lattimore looked really washed. Geno Smith, obviously last night did not look. I record these on Tuesday. Last night, Geno Smith did not impress me with any of his throws. They're not really using Ash. I talked me into it. I'm gonna go with the Washington Commanders. The reason I'm doing that, I don't believe in Chip Kelly. Listen, when I predicted Pete Carroll would become the head coach of the Raiders. I said that in my offseason video. That's who I would hire to build a culture for the Raiders for the next 3 or 4 years. He'll be the head coach. He'll retire, go into the front office, and then he'll choose a successor once the Raiders are a competent organization again. That was my plan for the Raiders. That's what they did. So I do like Pete Carroll. I don't like Chip Kelly. I thought Chip Kelly was a very bad hire on the offensive side of the ball. You saw last night that the Chargers were sitting like 15 yards off the line of scrimmage in a deep man coverage and deep zone coverage, and Chip Kelly kept calling deep routes. Why do you keep calling deep routes when they're playing deep? Get some nickel and dime offense and make them bite on the short offense, and then you throw a deep route in there. He wasn't doing that, so I don't believe in Chip Kelly. I do believe in this Washington defense, though. The front four are really good, but I do think the Raiders could win this, but I'd put my money on the Commanders. Next, we have the Green Bay Packers at Cleveland Browns. Listen, I don't think the Browns are as bad as we are. The issue is the interior of the offensive line is not good, right? Joel Bitonio, Ethan Pochik, and Wyatt Teller are past their prime. Joel Bitonio is going to retire at the end of the season. Ethan Pochik, Wyatt Teller are both on expiring contracts. They're not getting re-signed. These guys will not be on the team next year. Defensive side of the ball, nickel corner gave up 3 touchdowns last week against the Ravens. Denzel Ward didn't give up a touchdown. Greg Newsome didn't give up a touchdown. Our front seven stopped Derrick Henry for 30 yards and contained Lamar Jackson. But they threw to Miles Harden and Cam Mitchell, and they got 3 touchdowns off of it. So I think Jordan Love can do that, man. I don't think he's Lamar Jackson, but he's a gunslinger. I think we'll probably get a pick or 2, but he's going to throw 5 touchdowns against our nickel corners. Josh Jacobs won't be able to do anything. Tucker Kraft won't be able to do anything. But I'm telling you, there's gonna be a Dontavian Wicks touchdown. It's gonna be a Marcus Golden touchdown. That's going against our nickels, because that's the weak point of our team. And for the Packers defensively, it's Micah Parsons, it's Devonta Wyatt, it's Rashawn Gary. Like, this front four is going to demolish the interior of this Browns offensive line, and I just don't see a world where the Browns beat the Green Bay Packers. I just don't see it. I think the Packers' offense is better, and I think their defense is better than our offense, obviously. So I think they're going to win a lot of those matchups. I do think we're going to see a Myles Garrett sack, obviously, a sack or 2 against Jordan Love, because the Packers' offensive line's a little banged up, but I don't think it's going to be enough for the Browns to win. Next, we have the Chiefs at Giants. All right, next we have the I'm joking. I'll talk about it. Listen, the Chiefs are 0-2. They're not starting 0-3. The New York Giants, if they beat the Chiefs, they're officially on fraud watch. Like, the Chiefs are not winning the Super Bowl this year. They need to win against the Giants. With Russ at quarterback. Yes, it was a very fun game last week. I am definitely shocked that Moonball is still there. There's a 0% chance that Russell Wilson won't be able to throw a Moonball until he's 45. That dude's gonna throw him until he doesn't. That's how it's gonna be. But the Cowboys did their thing. The Cowboys, they were able to come back, able to win that game. And the Giants, their defense isn't good enough. I do think Patrick Mahomes has enough weapons on offense to beat that that Giants defense. And the Giants offense, if you take away the Moonball, it wasn't that great of an offensive day for the Giants. But I'm gonna go with Kansas City Chiefs. Again, I think there's more talent on the Chiefs. I think they're better coached. I do think Brian Daboll is on the hot seat. So I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs beating the New York Giants at home to start 1-2. Because I don't see a world where the Giants beat them and the Chiefs are 0-3. I just don't see it. Next, we have the Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. I think, again, this is my preseason prediction. This is my Super Bowl matchup. Is Lions at Ravens. Right now, I'm going Baltimore Ravens beating them in week 3. The Ravens in the first 2 weeks have looked incredible. Defensively, have stopped everyone. I guess the Bills beat them, yes. But up until the fourth quarter, when the Ravens let the foot off the gas, their defense was demolishing Josh Allen. Their offense, before they let the foot off the gas, were demolishing the Bills defense. It was one Derrick Henry fumble away from the Ravens winning that game. The Lions, week 1 against the Packers, which I think have a pretty comparable defense to the Ravens. Ravens, I might even give a little bit, more of a notch to, because it's been the same unit for 3 years. It's been the #1 unit for 3 years. The Packers, they stopped the Lions offense. The Ravens, I think, can stop the Lions offense as well. The Packers, as well on offense, were able to beat up on the Lions defense. I think the Ravens offense is better than the Packers offense. So in every metric, the team that beat up on the Lions is better in the Baltimore Ravens. Like, they're a better team than the Packers. The Lions, I do still think can win this game. Their offense at any moment can drop 60 points if they wanted to. But I do think this front seven for the Ravens are going to hold Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery to probably less than 100 combined yards. And I do believe in Malachi Starks, Kyle Hamilton, the Nate Wiggins. I do believe in their secondary, the young guys in their secondary, to come up big for this game. Because as much as Marlon Humphrey and Jair Alexander are good corners, they're not the same guys they were 3-4 years ago. But the young core, I think, is going to show up big in this game and make big time plays to beat the Detroit Lions. Again, the Lions could win this game very easily, but for me, I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens beating them. Then we have the Rams at the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going with the Eagles. The Rams, they inked a win out of the Titans game. Yes, it says 33-19, but I'm being serious with you, man. There was a point in that game where I'm like, what is going on? Like, there's a good chance that the Titans can come back and win this, because they were up 16-10 in the third quarter, and the Rams rattled off a couple of scoring drives. So there was a point where I'm like, the Titans could easily win this game if they wanted to. You can't do that with the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to run the ball on you. They're going to throw the ball on you when needed. This team is going to get what they want. We haven't seen Kyren Williams do anything this season. He's had a really rough start to the season. We've seen Blake Corum be a little bit better, but I do think Kyren Williams is still going to be the lead back. Puka is Puka. Devontae Adams is Devontae Adams. So I'm intrigued to see what the Rams offense can do with another week under their belt. The Rams defense, obviously, you guys know I'm a big fan of the Rams defense. They're one of my favorite teams in the league when it comes to defenses. But the Eagles are the Eagles. I can't pick against the Eagles, because no matter what they do, they run the ball well, they pass the ball well when needed, and they can pass block, run block, and their defense is one of the best in the league. Like, the Eagles, until they lose a game, I don't know if I can pick against them. Unless it's like Eagles-Ravens, I might pick the Ravens against them. I might pick the Ravens over the Eagles in that situation. So right now, I'm taking the Philadelphia Eagles. Could the Rams beat them? Yes. I do see this as a playoff matchup early in the season. Like, these teams could easily meet in the NFC Championship game, and I wouldn't be shocked. That's the level I think the Rams are at right now. But the Eagles are obviously Super Bowl contenders. There's not many teams I think can beat the Eagles right now. Next, we have the Falcons at Panthers. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, I do believe in the Falcons still. I think they're one of the most fun teams to watch in the NFL. Their offense is struggling right now. Bijan Robinson is struggling right now. He's not really having the best start to his season. It's only week 3, though. It's only week 3. Bijan last week had 22 rushes, 143 yards, 6.5 a carry, but it didn't feel impactful. I didn't feel watching that game, Bijan's one of the best running backs in the league. I thought he was very physical. He was able to get yardage when needed, but he didn't take over the game, right? And passing-wise, man, they couldn't get anything done passing-wise. So to me, the offense, if they can start clicking any game now, they're going to be a dominant NFC South team. The Panthers, a lot of question marks still, man. Xavier Legette looks like a not good wide receiver. He can't get out of breaks. He's very slow. I do think he's, again, I saw this actually on Twitter, which I thought was really true. Xavier Legette, why do I keep saying Legette? Xavier Legette plays wide receiver like he's 5'8" when he's in a 6'5" body. And that could not be more true. Like, you have Hunter Renfrow being more impactful to the team than a first round pick and Xavier Legette. That's not good. That's not good. Ted McMillan looks amazing though. That's good, right? That's obviously a good thing to know that Ted McMillan looks really good. But man, Xavier Legette looks rough. Their defense looks rough. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. Next, we have the Saints at Seahawks. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. Again, Sam Darnold pisses me off, right? He pisses me off. 1 minute, I'm like, man, do I really trust the Seattle Seahawks? And then they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, so I actually had I believe I picked the Steelers to win that game. They blow them out, 31-17. Sam, yes, struggles, but in the struggles was still able to manage a blowout, right? 2 touchdowns from him, almost 300 yards. Kenneth Walker, 13 for 105 and a touchdown. Jackson Smith-Njigba was doing his thing. Cooper Kupp did his thing. Torrey Horton got a touchdown, and their defense was able to get the pick off not Mason Rudolph. Was able to pick off Aaron Rodgers twice. That's impressive, and they were able to hold the run game for the Steelers to like 60 yards max. And that's what the Saints do. They love running the ball. They love throwing it to Alvin Kamara. And Jaylen Warren is just a Alvin Kamara B- version of him. And they basically negated all his ability in the, last week. So I do think Alvin Kamara, while he could have a good game, I'd put more bet on him having a struggle. Because Mike McDonald is just going to put Devin Witherspoon on him. Like, he's going to say, hey, if you're going to beat us, Nick Emanwari is waiting for you across the line of scrimmage. You're not beating Nick Emanwari in the open field. He's tackling you. He's hard hitting you. You're not going to stop him. So I do think that is a possibility as well. The Saints, I just don't see them beating the Steelers, not Steelers, the Seahawks. The Saints, they look awful. Like, they look truly awful. Their defense looks old and aged and not able to play the darn game. Spencer Rattler looks interesting. You know, he's going to throw the ball. He's a true gunslinger. He's going to throw the ball how he wants. Alvin Kamara, yes, he's like, aged 8, 9, 10 years in the league now. But the wide receiver core is uninspired. Obviously, Chris Olave, when he's healthy, is a very good wide receiver. But outside of that, very thin room. I like Juwan Johnson. He's actually, again, one of my favorite underrated tight ends. But what is he going to do to help this team win a football game when their defense basically can't stop anybody, right? They couldn't stop Mac Jones and no wide receivers. He only threw the ball to George Kittle. George Kittle's out. He didn't even throw the ball to George Kittle. Like, he's throwing to a bunch of second and third teamers and guys that they sign off the road, like off the street, throwing to Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Like, come on. And Kendrick Bourne and Luke Farrell. That's who he's throwing the ball to. Yes, Juwan Jennings played last week, but he played because he doesn't want to get fined. He wants a new contract. He's not playing with heart. He's playing because he's like, man, I want to get a contract. It's completely different. I don't know, man. I don't think the Saints are going to win any games this year. They look so bad. Like, they could be easily top 3. I've been saying the Miami Dolphins and the New Orleans Saints will be fighting for the number 1 overall pick. And that's just depressing. Next, we have the Arizona Cardinals at San Francisco 49ers. I'm going with the Cardinals. Again, I think the Cardinals can easily win the division this year in the NFC West. I think the 49ers, with Mac Jones, yes, they looked good against the Saints, but it's the Saints. I think the Cardinals defense not only is more impactful, but I think it's deeper. And I think that they're playing with more heart. And that's something it does matter to me. I do think art matters to me. And if I am the San Francisco 49ers, right now, this is not the week I'd be wanting facing the Cardinals because they're on a 2-game win streak, a franchise that's been struggling to get win streaks the last couple of years, and they're on a 2-game win streak. Yes, it was the Panthers. I get it. The Panthers are not a very good team. And yes, it was the Saints. I get it. The Saints are not a very good team. But they're doing what needs to get done. Kyler Murray is improving every week. Their defense is another week. Every single week is another week underneath their belt. I do think the Cardinals are going to win this division. The 49ers are starting Mac Jones again. They still don't have any wide receivers. Christian McCaffrey can only do so much. Their offensive line is old. They just signed, Colton McKivitz. I'm not the big fan of Colton McKivitz. I've been very vocal about that. But they signed to a new extension. Trent Williams is getting every day is getting older. I believe one of their guards also got injured last week. And defensively, they just lost so much in the last year or two when it comes to talent. Again, I'm gonna go to the Arizona Cardinals. I think this will be the first game that the NFL world goes, oh crap, the Cardinals are legit. Like, yes, they beat the Saints. Yes, they beat the Falcons, but they just beat the 49ers. They're gonna be legit this year. And that's why I think this is where the Cardinals' agenda finally starts kind of trucking along. Next, we have the Cowboys at Chicago Bears. This is a tough game, man. I would like to say the Bears at home beat the Cowboys, but I don't think I can do it. I think the Cowboys can easily win this game. They have the weapons on offense. We saw it last week. I'm very shocked, actually, how well the Cowboys played offensively against the Giants. You know, when plays need to be made, they made the plays. Dak Prescott, one of my favorite fourth quarter quarterbacks. That dude slings the ball whenever he wants. Javonte Williams looks like he's completely back from his torn ACL. Miles Sanders is always fun to root for. But CeeDee Lamb, he's still one of the best wide receivers. George Pickens looks like a really good wide receiver too next to CeeDee Lamb. They honestly have a rotation of like Jalen Tolbert and KaVontae Turpin as that wide receiver 3. I like Jake Ferguson. I like Brevin Spanford, Luke Schoonmaker. I like those run blocking tight ends. Their defense, you know, the rotation of pass rushers has been better than I expected. I said when Micah Parsons got traded, I saw the vision. I saw the vision for this defensive line, right? Solomon Thomas, James Houston has had a sack every game so far. Osa Digazua is one of the best D tackles in the league. Marshawn Nealon, you wanted to improve on. Donovan Azaraku was a high draft pick. Sam Williams was someone you believed in. I saw the vision of the rotating edge rushing group. Still, I wouldn't have done the trade, right? I want to make sure I would not have done that trade whatsoever. But I saw the vision. And the secondary is a secondary. They've been together for a couple of years now. I like this Cowboys secondary. But the offensive line for the Cowboys is doing its thing. They're signing the guys long term. I like the team. The issue is I don't like the coach. That's been my issue. The Bears, on the other hand, have looked really bad. No one is looking consistent. The offensive line looks awful. Like, truly, no one is getting any... Caleb is not getting any time to deliver the ball wherever he wants. And the run game is atrocious. I knew that from day one when they were going into the season with DeAndre Swift, that run game was going to be atrocious. DeAndre Swift has been in a Ben Johnson-led offense before and was atrocious. And guess what? He's atrocious for the second time. So the fact that Ben Johnson ran into that season, knowing that was your lead back, awful, awful decision. So I'm going to go to the Dallas Cowboys. Again, the Bears could win. They're at home. I like their defense enough, so I think they could stop the Cowboys offense. But to me, the Cowboys offense is going to overpower this defense. And this defense for the Cowboys is going to make issues for the Caleb Williams and crew. So that's my prediction for week 3 of Nick's Picks of the Week. If you guys enjoy, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think is going to end up being what actually happens in the NFL week 3? Let me know in the comments down below. What team is going to win that I have as losing, and what team is going to lose that I have as winning? Yeah, that's fun. And again, later this week, there will be another video of me tearing down an NFL team and rebuilding them. Now, again, not in depth, kind of a grand view of things, kind of like I did with Miami Dolphins rebuild. I'm going to do it again for my favorite team, the Cleveland Browns. So make sure you guys are subscribed and you have notification bells on so you get notified when I post that. And I'll see you guys later. Peace and bye.